that it certainly is the creme de la creme, of which everyone is here tonight. But certainly we get to recognize someone who has risen to the top and been there for a long, long time, and gives us a chance as a community of theater people to say, we honor you, we appreciate you, we recognize you, and thank you for helping raise us. And this man that is receiving the award tonight did just that for many, many people in this room. So at this time I'm going to ask our former president of the Live Theater League, Mr. Rob Hood, to come up for our Elston Brooks Lifetime Achievement Award.
Tonight. There were a long list of people who wanted to present this award, and I had to play the past president's card. And thanks for picking up the parking tonight, BJ. We all appreciate it. The Elston Brooks Lifetime Achievement Award. It's awarded to an individual who has dedicated their professional life's work to the advancement of live theater and have made a significant contribution to the art of live theater in Tarrant County. We could cross out Tarrant County and put the entire United States in tonight, and the same man would still be deserving of this award. My very first experience in live theater, I was probably 12 or 13 years old. My mother drugged me down to Casa Manana to see Finian's Rainbow. I don't remember much about that show, but this I do remember. At the very beginning, the lights went down, the dome became dark, there was a single spot, and a dashing young man in a white tuxedo appeared. He made a jaunty wave to the audience, descended into the pit, the overture began, and I was hooked on live theater from that moment on. So I'm very happy to be able to present this award tonight to that dashing young man in the white tuxedo, a man I respect very much. I'm certainly not alone in that respect. Looking across this audience, I see a theater full of people with the same respect and love for Joe. The room is full of performers who have had the privilege and the pleasure of working with Joe, and we have all been touched by his talent, his grace, his passion for theater in the round, his genuine love of Casa Manana Theater, and his love and respect for the people who performed with him. I know that all of us feel very honored and proud to say that we worked with Joe Stecko. Now, Joe would be deserving of this award if his entire career was only Casa Manana. He joined Casa Manana in 1967. He served as musical director and the conductor for an astounding 35 years. He retired as the musical director emeritus in 2002. But before coming to Casa in 1966 and conducting probably over 150 productions, he amassed quite a resume that would qualify him for tonight's award on its own. Here are some of the highlights. Some of the theaters he has conducted for: Chattanooga Symphony and Opera, San Bernardino Civic Light Orchestra, Melody Top and Mill Run Theaters in Chicago, North Shore Music Theater, Cohasset Music Theater, Hyannis Music Theater, and a little place called Carnegie Hall in New York City. On the radio, he conducted the CBS Symphony. And on television, he directed the Grammys and the David Frost Show. I also want to share a few interesting things that don't show up on his resume. Now, you might have watched Betty White this weekend hosting Saturday Night Live. Well, in the early 50s, Joe directed Betty White and her then newlywed husband, Alan Ludden, in Brigadoon in Totowa, New Jersey. In the 60s, he directed Rue McClanahan in The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. That was off-Broadway in a theater on McDougal Street. He also conducted the 1964 cast recording of that production. In a small New Jersey theater, Joe worked with a producer named Robert Ludlam. They were doing My Fair Lady. The producer casually told Joe one day that he was working on a novel in his spare time. He didn't stay in theater too much after that. He directed a show called Leave It to Jane. It starred a couple of youngsters named George Siegel and Laney Kazan. Siegel had a small comic role in the show, and he asked Joe if he could help him get some other parts because he was going to be a star someday. Did you get anything? But for me, the most important show of Joe's career was the 1994 production of Guys and Dolls. I was cast in my very first professional show, and to describe me as green and inexperienced would be very kind. I was surrounded by a cast of very talented singers and dancers, and since I had no experience with either, I did my best to hide from Joe and the choreographer. I lucked out on the choreographer, but I couldn't hide from Joe. The first music rehearsal, Joe asked me if I sang baritone or bass. I had no idea what that was. I think I told you I sang bass. I couldn't read music, so I pretended to. I couldn't stay on pitch on my part, so I made sure I stood by the biggest, loudest baritone in the cast. I sang very softly. And on the hard parts, not at all. But I'm sure you knew what I was doing, Joe, and because of your very kind and caring heart, you never called me on it and you never ratted me out. I'm eternally grateful to you for that. So I'm gratified to stand here tonight and repay you some of that kindness by presenting you this award. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium the 2009 recipient of the Elston Brooks Lifetime Achievement Award, a dashing young man in the white tuxedo, Maestro Joe Stecko.
Yeah! Hey!
Thank you very, very much. Now, if anybody has any corrections, because I do. And there are very, very few people who come out and give thank you for this and for that. And in this case, I like to borrow from movies. There's a man who won the award for the movie itself, for his composition, his orchestrations. And that man was, for years, he was Hollywood's fine composer, and that was Dmitri Chomkin. Now, some of you may hear me, may not, but Dmitri Chomkin, when he came to accepting his award, said, in his very deep Russian accent, said, I would like to thank many, many people, not only my wife, my grandfather, but not only this, but I'd like to thank Johannes Brahms, Beethoven, and Mozart, and he ran down the list of composers where it was. Like Newton, in his award, said, very simple, before me there are many giants that have been sitting on my shoulders. And him, Chomkin, in music, of course, named the ones that to him. I'd like to thank Ron, DJ, and thank all of you for coming, my wife, and whoever else. Just a few, I did like this. Betty White, of course, came out, what she did, and we did Brigadoon, and she played Fiona, and that week they got married, and Alan Lunn, and she got married that week, and what else?
Was it you?
Well, with Betty, I also did South Pacific in Chicago, and there she did Nellie Forbush. And this was in a theater called the Tour de Voir.